All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Hillary Kane, and I am a member of the Coordinated Campaign Committee, which is the committee at the national level in the Green Party that supports and promotes candidates and campaigns. And we have a monthly series of webinars and conversations, depending on the month, where we talk about different aspects of campaigning. And in December, what we typically do is really focus on debriefing and what it might mean to end your run and move on to the next phase and the next chapter. So thank you all for joining us. This is a little bit of a different format than we've tried before, where we've already done this debriefing call officially and recorded it, and so we referred people to that recording. And then more we wanted to have, instead of going through that debriefing slideshow, we wanted to just have more of an open conversation with folks who hopefully maybe did a campaign debriefing to hear how that went and to learn what you all learned from those reflections and those activities. So before we get started, why don't we kind of go around the virtual room and introduce ourselves. And while you are introducing yourself, say, of course, who you are and where you're from. But if you were a candidate or were part of like the core team of a campaign, let us know that. And if you did any kind of formal debrief, let us know that, and then we'll take it from there. So because it's a small group, I'm just going to rattle people's names off from my list, and we'll do introductions. So the first one is Anonymous, who we now know as Holly Hart.
Yeah, my name is Holly Hart. I'm a member of the Coordinated Campaign Committee. I have run for office long ago as Lieutenant Governor sidekick, but I've worked on a number of campaigns and was interested in being on this committee because I like to promote the idea of running for a local office and having an influence in your community. So I'm always interested to hear what people have to say, and we're always interested in adding to our store of resources for candidates going forward to the future.
Great. But you did not run for office this time around or participate in any?
No, I didn't. No,
That's
I did not.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Great. Next on the list is Diane Blay.
Hi. Yes, I'm Diane Blay, and I did not run for office last time, but I thought I'd just be on the call and listen. Thank you. I'm from Fairfax, Virginia.
Great. All right. Who is the 937 number?
That's Logan.
Hey, Logan.
Hi. Logan Martinez, Dayton, Ohio, member of the Campaign Coordinating Committee. I ran several times before and been working on campaigns for a long time.
Good. Were you a part of any specific campaign this year, and did you participate in any debriefing?
No.
Okay. All right. Next is Sandy Prisblack.
Hi. I'm Sandy Prisblack. I ran for town council in Cheektowaga, New York. I did garner 25% of the vote in a two-way race, which was a shock to me because the last 2 months of the campaign, I had a family emergency, and I'm actually now living in Vermont temporarily to assist my daughter. So we did not have a formal debrief in Buffalo because I wasn't home. But I was very shocked that I got 25% of the vote. So
that's amazing.
But anyway.
Against a Republican or a Democrat?
No, a Democrat who had never run for office before.
Wow.
So,
well, I hope you do it again. As you build on the name recognition and, build on what you started. All right, next on the list is Craig from New Jersey. And it looks like you have to take yourself off mute, Craig.
Hey everyone, how are you? I just ran for town council in Ward 3 in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and yeah, we did a little bit of a debrief at our last state meeting. I only needed about 15 minutes. I was kind of just doing a quick one for as a recap. But I can answer any questions anybody has tonight, too.
Great. And how did you do? I never saw the results of your race.
So we ended up with 173 votes. We finished third, a little over 16% of the vote.
That's not bad.
The incumbent had run unopposed 4 years ago. And, of course, this time around they had a Democrat and, of course, Green. So we had to work, I'd say, twice or three times as hard as everybody to get people out to vote and awareness. And, yeah, I can definitely share more. But we're actually going to have a special election because, regretfully, he passed away.
Oh, geez.
So I'll be running again this year.
Wow.
Literally just pivoting right into the next year race. So we'll see. I'm still waiting on details.
Wow. Well, not that I certainly wish anybody's passing, but that's fortuitous for you. Okay. And then Harry. It looks like you'll have to take yourself off mute as well.
Yep. I just unmuted. Hi, I'm Harry Berger from New York, 2nd Congressional District, and I'm actually on kind of the opposite end of things from the rest of you. I'm just barely thinking about starting to get into it. My congressman is Peter Kane, and he announced that he's not seeking re-election. So everybody's like, yeah, we should really run a candidate. And I was like, yeah, we really should. People like you should. And I was like, okay, maybe.
He who suggests volunteers.
Well, it's a
Excuse me, Harry, isn't Peter Kane a NIPAN member?
I can't understand you, I'm sorry.
Peter Kane, isn't he a NIPAN member?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, NIPAN is the New York Progressive Action Network. It came out of the Bernie campaign.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the guy I'm thinking of, what, is that Staten
Never mind
Island or Long Island?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty much in New York. We have something called ballot fusion and opportunity to ballot, which means that there are some paperwork shenanigans that other candidates can do to steal the Green Party line, even if you don't want them to, even if you totally object.
Yep.
If they do the right things, they can steal our line. So the best way to make that harder for them is to run our own candidate to oppose them.
Definitely. All right, well, welcome, Harry. So I think it's actually great that you are on the call with a possible run in 2020, because I said in my last email, it's always helpful to, sort of begin with the end in mind. And so, for the person who has not yet run, I think listening to everybody else's reflections will help you think about how you want to, borrow the good and, replicate what the successes that other people had, and then, of course, avoid the pitfalls that other folks had as well. So I guess, given the small nature of this, and given that it sounds like, with the exception of Craig doing a 15-minute debrief, no one actually did any kind of real formal debrief. I mean, I can go through the slide deck. I don't know if anybody actually watched that webinar from a year ago, because personally I would find watching a webinar pretty boring, but I can go through some of the highlights, or if people, Craig, I don't know if you want to reflect and share some of what you shared at your state party meeting. It's up to you. I'm going to take my lead from you all, whether you want sort of a little bit of more formal presentation and then discussion, or just go straight into discussion.
If you got a slide deck, we might as well go through it.
All right.
I'm a much more visual person.
Sure. Anyone else?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I have it. Give me 30 seconds to pull it up here. And it probably has last year's date on it, but, hey, not much has changed in terms of this type of content. Share screen. Start sharing. So this should come up for folks if you're on the computer versus on the phone. Oh, here, hold on. Okay. Now it should work.
There we go.
All right. Let me get the present. Okay. Debriefing Your Run by Hillary Kane. All right. So basically, just to recap, we're talking about an actual systematic process to really learn the lessons from your campaign. There's a famous quote that I had always attributed to Miles Horton from the Highlander School in Tennessee, but I think recently I heard that it was Augusto Boal, who is a popular educator from Brazil. The expression is, you only learn from the experiences you learn from, meaning that you actually have to, wake up and take notice and realize that you either just made a mistake or just did something amazing, and do that reflection in order to...
Hi, guys. It seems like Hillary went on mute, but somebody else may need to mute.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to mute somebody else, and I wound up, I guess, muting myself. Okay. Hold on. I think I can put this in lecture mode, which I think mutes everyone but me. Let's see how that works. Can you hear me now? Well, how would I know? Because if you're saying yes, I think you can hear me because I can see the little dots moving. And somebody can put in the chat a thumbs up or something. Great. Thank you, Craig. So anyway, as I was saying, it's important to get into the practice of doing a serious debrief and reflection, whether it's a formal, group process or just you as the candidate, taking some time. Once there's a little space between the election, you can't necessarily do it the day after because you're still all keyed up and exhausted at the same time. But, a few weeks later to really sit back and reflect and think about what is it that you learned. And, if you did it again, what would you do differently? And whether that's for you because you're going to run again or for your successor, somebody else who's going to come along in your Green Party and try to do that same thing, run for office, whether it's the exact same office or a different office, we're only as strong as our collective wisdom, and that, is our collective experience. And so, ideally you would do a formal debriefing with your core campaign leadership, and that might be if you had a campaign manager or a volunteer coordinator, a get out the vote person, whether these were paid roles or volunteer, it doesn't matter, but whoever your inner circle was, that you kind of, anytime you had a major decision to make, who was on speed dial, who were you talking to on a weekly basis. All right, so, how to debrief, so my recommendation, I'm a big believer in face-to-face, which is great if you're in a small local community like Hawthorne Town Council. If you're obviously running statewide and you have people all over the state, that may not be possible. Ideally, you'd have it facilitated by a neutral third party. I would suggest, if you had a big, serious race, at least a half a day to spend some time really unpacking what happened during your campaign. And this, of course, is all like best practice, and, anything you do is better than nothing. But to really try to do it seriously, I think you need a good 3 to 4 hours. And you can certainly alternate between thinking about the campaign overall, but then also breaking down different elements of the campaign and what might have been successful or less successful, with regard to, let's say, media, or with regard to events or fundraising, etc. You can also supplement this by surveying volunteers. One year, I'm in Philadelphia, and by no means are we consistent about doing this, but one of our sort of bigger and better races, we had someone do a survey of all the people who volunteered on election day about, their thoughts and feelings and how the experience was. So it wasn't even a survey of the entire campaign, but we got some really interesting data about what people thought and how they felt about the campaign just based on that one experience they had. And then I would just say do it soon. It's not too late. I mean, Election Day was only a month ago, a little over a month ago. I would say, ideally you would do it by the end of the year. I think if it goes any longer than that, it sort of just is too far in the rearview mirror, and people don't remember, all the details, and they kind of forget the things that they wanted to make note. So, obviously the holidays can be a crazy busy time for people. Or you might have like a little bit of downtime and a little bit of time and space to do some of that reflection, even if you can't do it as a group, but as an individual candidate, you can do it. Here's a sample agenda. I don't think I'm going to go through this specifically because I don't know that it's going to be useful at this point on this particular call, but it's sort of, and this is, I'm going to actually stay on this slide for a second for Harry, because I think one of the things to think about now at the beginning of a campaign is, what are your goals and what do you want to hold yourself to? And obviously everyone's goal at some level is winning, but that may not be realistic depending on, how much money you're going to be able to raise. I mean, if you're running for U.S. Congress, that's a pretty tall stretch for a Green Party candidate. But that doesn't mean that you can't have some, other types of wins, whether it's registering new Green Party members, increasing the vote total for Greens, achieving ballot access. I mean, there could be a bunch of different goals. And so it's helpful to kind of quantify those at the beginning of the campaign. And then, of course, any serious debrief is going to, actually say, well, what were the real outcomes? At the beginning of the year, let's say we said we were going to raise $10,000. Well, how much did we actually raise? At the beginning of the year, we said we were going to mobilize 100 new volunteers. How many did we do? That type of thing. This is a good snapshot of the type of, quantitative things that you can look at. As I said, if no goals were articulated, this is difficult to do. So again, beginning with the end in mind, have clear and specific goal. Even if the goal is simply just winning, fabulous. But I would also encourage folks to think about other more sort of long-term party building goals and to actually put those down on paper. All right, and then, brainstorm the top elements, and I have another slide which lists all the elements or many of the elements. But, you're not going to be able to unpack every single part of your campaign necessarily in 3 to 4 hours. But you can certainly, focus on the key things that were the most salient. If you didn't really have any serious media strategy and no one working on media and you didn't get any media, I mean, obviously the reflection is, oh, well, maybe we should have put some effort into that. But it's not worth spending 3 hours to talk about something that barely happened versus another aspect of the campaign, whether maybe it was petitioning or volunteer management or events that you really did do, put a lot of effort into. And so here are some elements. These are all the types of things that, you could have a point person for each one of these things, and any kind of, mainstream high-dollar campaign is going to have a paid manager for each one of these things, which obviously for us is a grand luxury, but can you at least have a lead volunteer for each of these things? But this would be the type of, menu that, again, you're not going to debrief, these 20 items in one 3-hour session, but can you pick, your top 3 or top 4 that you did put some time and energy into and try to see, what worked and what didn't. And then I think I have 1 or 2 more, and then we'll get into Q&A. So just realize that some of the things that you might want to think about are external. And so it's not so much a matter of how well you did, and these are sort of almost elements that are beyond your control. And so, something like, Sandy mentioned that she got 25% of the vote, despite the fact that even in the last, month of the campaign, she was dealing with a personal crisis and perhaps not able to put all that much effort into it. That 25% is partly about her and how great of a campaign she ran, but it's also partly just the fact that it was just a head-to-head race with only one other person, and, there's sort of these external conditions that gave her the outcome that she got, and all of these things can affect that. And so it's not so much about, it's not an assessment of your own personal strengths as a candidate or your own how well your campaign managed itself, but it's an analysis of just the conditions. And so to all things being equal, to I think of Rich Whitney as a great example. The year that he ran when Rod Blagojevich was going to jail, he did phenomenally. And then he ran 2 years later or 4 years later, and he did not nearly as well. He was no different as a candidate. He had the same message. Presumably his campaign was run at equal levels, but the conditions were totally different. You know, like they're just in the, I think it was 2010, no, maybe it was 2008. You know, the Rod Blagojevich scandal was huge. And, you know, the Democrat was basically being carted off to jail. Everyone turned their eyes on the Green. And then 4 years later, like, that wasn't the situation, and so nobody was paying attention to the Green. So those things matter. It just helps us get a better sense of maybe when the opportunity might be ripe for us to run in the Green part as a Green candidate. But then, of course, you also want to focus on, you know, the internal things. Sorry, I think, did I go backwards here? Oh yeah, so we talked about internal, and then we also talked about external. So just remember, like, external, I think sometimes just gets left off because it's not the stuff that we can control, and so we don't really think about it, but it does matter. And then I think, you know, the last thing I'm going to really focus on here is just, you know, the important, you know, the whole point of this is not to just have more meetings for the sake of meetings, but to really, like, focus on the future. If we're going to run again in 2 years or 4 years, what would we do differently? How can we be continuously improving as a party? What are those takeaways and action items that we can use for future candidates and for the party itself? And so, you know, the other call that we've sometimes done in December is run the party like you've run the campaign, meaning take sort of the energy and the sense of urgency and the team you've built for your campaign and try to translate that into ongoing Green Party building. Lots of times candidates run in places where there really isn't an organized local, or the local is kind of, you know, defunct, and candidate campaigns can be really energizing. But then, you know, the minute an election happened, November 5th is election day, and November 6th, like, it's, you know, it's like a balloon with all the air going out. It's like, you know, like everyone just like, oh, and they, you know, like they collapse and don't come back together. And, you know, my argument is you don't have to sustain it at the intensity of the campaign, but, you know, instead of meeting every week, can you meet every month? Can you keep, you know, putting out some press releases and doing some visibility and doing some tabling, that kind of thing. So really think about how to, you know, what did we learn that we can use next time? And then also the biggest thing, you know, don't throw away data. You know, you have hopefully collected data, whether it's contact information of supporters and volunteers, donors, you know, maybe you did some door knocking and some voter identification. Like, all that is gold for the next candidate. And so keep that, keep it in a safe place. Hand it over to your local party if that is a sort of trusted source, or keep it for yourself if you're going to run again, but keep it because all that information is valuable. Yeah, and information about your opponent. So 9 times out of 10, you know, Greens are unfortunately not winning elections, and we have opponents who then go into office, and if we run again in 2 or 4 years, whenever the next election is, that is likely to be our opponent again. And so, you know, this is not something I would necessarily do this month, but know that you have, you know, well, Craig is in an unusual situation in that the person died and he's got to run again in a special election. But if that person had lived, you know, he would probably have 2 years before he could think about running again for this seat. And in that 2 years, he could be starting to really think more deeply about, well, hey, who's my opposition? What are they really doing? Who's you know, contributing to them? You know, where did they spend their money? How did they do it? And that's just more information that you can use for your own future run. So I think that's it. That was sort of a really brief and abbreviated version. Yeah, I guess last slide, be careful. You know, it is, sometimes campaigns get really hot and heavy and there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of egos flying around the room. There's a lot of, you know, in most cases, people are not paid campaign staff, so there's a lot of volunteering, which means that there's often a lot of over-promising and under-delivering, where people sort of say, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and they really only do X. Because I think, we all, it's human nature, we all sort of have grander visions of what we can accomplish, and then, life settles in. So we have to kind of have that balance of holding people accountable to what they said they would do, but at the same time cutting people some slack because we realize that everyone's a volunteer, or almost everyone, and, a lot of us have other full-time jobs, families, etc. So try to avoid assigning blame, make it about actions but not about the people, and also be realistic about the time and capacity of your group. I mean, if you just, could never, spend more than 5 hours a week on your campaign, it's probably not going to, get hundreds of thousands of votes and attract thousands of dollars and, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that is truly it. So I'm going to end it here. I can put this into now Q&A mode, or I think I'll just take it off, and we're small, so I think I'm just going to let people chat. So hold on one second. Unmuted. Okay, great. So that was it in terms of the formal presentation. So our thoughts, comments, I don't know, again, Craig, I would love to, since you actually did do a debrief of some kind, even if it was a brief debrief, if you have any thoughts or things that you shared with New Jersey that you want to share with us, and then I'm happy to entertain other questions and comments.
Sure, yeah, we could go back to that sample agenda slide.
Yep, I can do that. I
can kind of just run through a little bit there. Okay. Let's see here.
The first real piece of music that I wrote. I mean, the first few.
Okay, so going into the campaign that I had to go through, it was an interesting race because it's a ward race. There's 4 wards in my town, and it was just the wards that were up for town council. The incumbent was a 20-plus year Republican who was 79. So he didn't really campaign. He just ran on his name because he already had experience and the line in town and the support in town. And basically the Democrats, do their little coffee clutch thing, find somebody to put their name up, and they picked a woman that's only been in town for about 4 years, and she didn't really campaign. So I had already strategized for over a year of how to enter this race. So I started getting involved in the town green team, which is part of our environmental commission, because I wanted to start to get in the community some way, because I still don't have I don't have a family, I'm not a coach, I'm not as religious, so I don't have all that kind of tie-in. So I needed to start somewhere, and I always wanted to be a part of the green team anyway, and I just figured let's start there. And it kind of transitioned into the campaign in the spring because I saw the Democrats were putting up somebody that really had no experience or organizing or was an activist of any sort. So I just said, look, I'm going to run. And I think I came up with the idea of everything in April, and I had to get my petitions in on primary day, which was the first week of June. And you don't need much for a ward race. I think I only had to collect 54 valid signatures, so I think I turned in 94 from what I recall. And then I had my announcement and I was out there. But some of the positives obviously were coming out, trying to party build in the town, take everybody who weren't aware what the Green Party was and try to bring everybody in. So I worked hard on creating a full website that's still up, made sure I had materials, press, had a campaign manager. So between me and my campaign manager, we basically ran the campaign between the two of us, and I did have a good amount of support with volunteers. So going through the number of votes, yes, so we got, like I said, 173 votes out of a ward race where you had a total with provisional and mail-in ballots of a 29% turnout. So that was actually pretty good, because he actually won with 1 vote more than he ran with last time unopposed. So we both brought people back into this whole race, but there was a huge amount of people that still didn't come out to vote when you're talking less than 30% turnout. But it wasn't off year. So we take a look at the positives. I had a lot of Republicans, Democrats that weren't happy with their choice, and obviously a lot of unaffiliated or independent voters. There weren't many Greens in town. The few Greens in town are out of ward, and I made connections with them, so they were able to, come out when they can to share stuff, but it really wasn't as what I expected. I was hoping a little bit more from the people in town. It was more my state party Greens and my other allies from other causes that we do that came out. Donors, because I ran a Nation Builder website, we were able to track everything really well. We ended up raising a total of $2,214. And if we take out the generous donation from the CCC and my state party, between just regular grassroots donations was $1,615. So I think it was really good for the race. And a lot of the materials I made are stuff that I can reuse. I made sure I put very few dates, race dates. Like I'm starting to tell people not to run on like 2020, run on just like your name or your name, U.S. Senate, stuff like that, so you can use the stuff again. Don't get boxed into putting a date on it. Now, the door hangers I did create at the end, I have the date at the top, but I can easily cut off, and I can still use them as just walking materials again. So, yeah, I mean, that was a pretty good, plan, strategy with materials. We had great press. We put out constant articles out there. We did some fundraisers with local businesses, made contacts with local businesses, did a voter registration drive with our local arcade, and I made flyers that were put up in 40 stores, and I even used that to help build my social media. So it was a very issue-driven, social media-driven, type of campaign. So I think we have a good shot next time around because we won't have somebody, regretfully because he passed away, on the name. The Democrat is not well liked. She put a hit piece on the mayor. That was her only real campaign thing. And then 2-3 weeks before the race, she put out something using green background because she saw I was running as a green and on my person and what I offer instead of, my whole thing was like person over party. And she started distancing herself from the Democrats and tried to run like kind of with no branding too. And I don't know. I don't think she's well liked, and I think we have a good shot.
What about some of the either particular elements or just some of the things that maybe, if you had to do it all over again, and it sounds like you are planning to do it all over again, which is great, what are you going to do differently? What are some things what are the lessons that you learned in terms of things that didn't go quite the way you expected them to?
The mail-in ballots, the vote by mail, I did not focus on that. I should have spent a little more time on that. Out of 122 mail-in ballots, I only received 8 of them. The incumbent had 60, the Democrat had 47, and there was some weird write-ins too, which is strange. But I have to focus on the mail-in ballot totals, and obviously we didn't get to do a lot of phone banking. The list that we have didn't have a lot of phone numbers, but we didn't get to really focus on that as well. I did try to put out a lot of social media stuff, but the community threads in my town were it was a really weird, like, touchy thing there because they're controlled by the Democrats. So it was funny how certain candidate was able to slide things in, but then when I would try to put stuff in, it would be censored. So it was a real weird situation there. So it's also tough. It's a highly, I hate to say it this way, but it's a highly upper-class white Republican ward. And it's really not probably my best audience, but it's all about getting out there, getting exposure. And I did have a lot of Republicans that said they were voting for me because they thought it was time for somebody else. Now, will I have those supporters this time around? I don't know yet. But I think it's more about trying to get these people that were, not sure about coming out to vote to come out to vote. And I think we have a shot because it's going to be a huge election year, maybe we can, then we'll start pulling more people out that way.
Did you
voting? Sorry, Logan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, you did door-to-door work too?
So yeah, we basically were door to door from when we went to get petitions, and again, you don't need a lot, but you always get more just in case. And then I went around again. I think we went around to most of these houses 3 or 4 times. And an award race, it almost gets to, I hate to say it, a lot of people were starting to get annoyed because I had a good amount of support staff. I mean, we were doing weekly, I was putting stuff out, events. We had Sunday meetings at this little restaurant in town. It was on Facebook. We had about one weekend we would have 12 volunteers, one weekend maybe 6. So we would go out and we would hit the lists over and over. So I don't know if hitting the doors again would make the difference. I think when they're just seeing me and being more relevant, I think getting my name out there is really the thing. But I'm willing to obviously keep going at it. It's just I've got to figure out the next, like another angle here.
Did Logan Stack?
Logan?
Yeah, I think I'd like to pursue this a little bit. Did you come up with a way of gleaming contacts, their information, emails, getting to friend you on Facebook? One of the things we used a petition to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, though that might not appeal to the Republicans. It certainly did to, so we were able to use that and had an email and phone number spot on it. And the neighborhood we were in was very, practically everybody signed it.
No, that's good. I didn't think of that. That would be a good thing, like some other initiative to go on and get people's information. I mean, we had people that signed up. We had even people that became, followers and involved in the campaign that weren't even in the ward. They were putting my signs up, and they lived in other parts of town. So, and then again, this is a sleepy Republican town. So I guess I should go over that optic. So there's one Democrat that won re-election. He's in Ward 1, and he won with 405 votes. So it's very low turnout in this town anyway. But the rest of it is literally Republican controlled. You have the 3 other wards are Republican, the 3 at-large councilmen are Republican, and the mayor's Republican. So it's a huge, and in New Jersey, there's actually a bunch, people don't realize there's a bunch of these towns that are strong Republican on a local level, but on a county level, then they're going to be Democrats. So it's weird how it works with a lot of stuff in North Jersey, especially. So it's really, it's interesting. I mean, we were able to make a platform that appealed to everybody, but it was more about getting the name recognition, I think. And I'm hoping a second shot will boost the numbers. But I'll definitely explore going out and trying to, have something else there so I can, ask them to sign up for and try to get them in and involved that way.
Any other questions or comments? Other thoughts from folks who have maybe run in the past or supported other campaigns, and even if it wasn't this cycle, or their thoughts about what is it that we're learning from these races and how are we using it to improve practice for next time?
Question.
Sorry, who was that?
This is Jennifer Woodward in San Francisco.
Hello, Jennifer. Welcome.
Hi.
I just saw your email. Sorry that you had trouble getting on the call. I'm glad you made it.
I finally figured out what happened. Thank you for noticing. I just got in, obviously, and I was just wondering if somebody could spend like just a minute or two recapping what was said. I tried to do more support in 2015-16 with websites and.
Yeah, so I could send you, basically I went through the slide deck that was used last year for the debriefing webinar. It was the one that we sort of encouraged people to watch before this one. I just redid it because I don't think anybody really watched it, which was okay. I did a quick version. But mostly it was about, how to do and why to do a formal campaign debrief or, reflection session that you really sort of look at, what were the strengths of your campaign. Here's a sample. I don't know if you can see the screen, but sort of a sample agenda, like thinking about the campaign as a whole. What were the successes? What were the challenges? Thinking about particular elements of the campaign. And presumably, if you set clear goals at the beginning, did you achieve those goals? Even if it's not winning, maybe you had a goal around the number of new Green Party members or the number of donors or the amount of money raised, the number of new volunteers, that sort of thing, and to actually take serious stock of how you did. So I kind of went through that, and then Craig, who you were just hearing from, ran for town council in Hawthorne, New Jersey, which is a small town in North Jersey, I think.
Yep, North Jersey.
Yep, and just talking about, how some of his reflections on running for office and sort of what worked well and what he might change for next time around and that sort of thing.
I'm looking at the sample agenda page right now.
Great. Yeah, so this was just part of it, and then other elements, and the elements would be like these types of things to think about in terms of how did you do on volunteer recruitment, volunteer management, traditional media, social media, all these different things.
Yeah. I know.
And we could probably go on. I'm sure there's like 5 more topics I could think of that aren't even on here.
Yeah, I've been trying to educate people. I know I'm trying to help for several years, and at least now we've got a webinar happening on with the same subject. I'm glad to see it.
Great.
If I could go on a stack next.
Go for it, Craig.
So this is a good one. I love this slide. So it looks like there's a lot, and there are a lot of pieces, but once you get past, the first month or so, it kind of just starts to roll and flow. And, I ended up doing a lot of it between myself, my campaign manager, and then, of course, I had the volunteers that would come in on weekends. And that's another thing. I have a full-time job. I work Saturdays, so my only door-to-door was on Sundays. And then I had to take off work on the last weekend to really go out, full tilt. But I've been using Adobe Spark for a lot of my stuff. So it helps with a consistent look and message. And once you get a template down, you can kind of quick share it on Instagram and share it to Facebook, and you can alter it real easily without having to do stuff from scratch. So I do like that as an element.
So is that like a graphic design software?
Yeah, like a Canva.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was actually great because in Adobe Spark, I worked on some of my stuff, and then I forwarded it to my friend who did my printing, and she would throw it into Illustrator, and she would just do the final touch. But it was really easy to migrate from Adobe Spark, one product, to the Illustrator, so that they can finish doing everything off. And the turnaround was so much easier with materials. Like I literally put my door hanger together in 2 nights. And then she got it done, and she just edited it. It took her half a night, and we had the final thing ready to go in a week because we just went to the print and came back. And it was a great double-sided door hanger. So materials, obviously, clear messaging. You got to really work on a platform that is approachable by everybody. But it can be done. And I think as long as you can raise around $2,000 or so, a town council race should be achievable. Obviously, it's the higher races that we'd have to work on, how we're going to address some of the stuff. You really need a full team if you're running for a congressional seat or a Senate seat.
Jenny Stack.
This is great. Yeah, sorry, who was that? Was it
Jenny Stack?
Yes, Jenny, go right ahead.
Oh, well, I was wondering, to this previous speaker, how elaborate was your website, or did you have one, and how much information was on it, and How much trouble was it to put together and keep running?
So yeah, Hillary knows I'm an advocate for Nation Builder for a long time now. So
right.
I took on the task of learning Nation Builder myself and putting it together, and I still have it there, and I'm gonna keep it up. I just need to get donations now. That's another thing, because I have to have a special election. I'm gonna have to go on and try to get donations to keep it up for the next year until the special election occurs. But so basically, my friend did the graphic and the sign and the imagery, and then I had that to upload into the Nation Builder website, and then I just worked on the platform as I went along, and all the news articles that came out, I ended up sharing it out in there, and I kept the platform hidden until I'd say about 3 weeks before, because the Democrats didn't have a platform. They were just kind of saying, vote for me, I'm your Democrat, that's running. And I didn't want to put it on there because I knew she was going to steal it. And as soon as I put it on there, she was stealing ideas. So my whole thing was, I was telling everybody, I'm going door to door, I'm telling you my ideas. When she comes to your house, ask her what her ideas are. And at first she didn't have any. She was getting tripped up on it. So, but yeah, it's really approachable, and we did a great job with reaching out to local businesses. Because again, my whole thing was trying to work on small business and community-based economics. So I took key elements from our national platform and delved it down into a local level, and we made a lot of friends. So I think next time around we'll have more support. Honestly, I was not sure this was going to happen, and I feel bad that my opponent passed away. My next plan was to wait for 2 years and then run at large, because at large for the whole town, I would have better exposure, because most of my base would support me more. There's a lot of volunteers, a lot of friends I made that are not in my ward. So I know at large I would have a better shot than in a ward race, but I have to stay involved, because I know that the Democrat's going to try to run again, because she put out a hit piece on us. The next day, her thank you / thing was, thank you. We ran a great campaign. I'm so proud of my campaign. We would have won, except the third-party candidate stole our votes.
Of course. Of course.
Literally, that's like
stole them and won. Ha ha ha.
So I actually had to take a couple of days to work on a rebuttal. I'm also involved with Extinction Rebellion here, and we had this action at Newark VMAs, and we had our court date was the day after elections. So we're coming out of court because we got the charge reduced, and I'm getting all these texts from my town reporter like, "Are you going to do a rebuttal?" And I'm like, "Rebuttal to what?" And he's like, "Here," and he sent me her thing that she put out there slamming us. So I had to take a couple days to step back and write a piece on it, and it got some traction, and it was out there. I shared it out on my Facebook page and stuff. So, but basically saying it was a tripartisan race. It wasn't her votes to steal.
Right.
We don't believe in that.
Well done.
I went through it and basically put her in her place. So, and in a nice way. I write things in a nice way.
Decorum.
But
Decorum.
you might. I wish you better success this time around in the special election. But even if you don't win here, you might be right that your base of support is more scattered throughout your town, and that you have a better shot at large. And so, that might be what 2021 holds. If you have the stamina, just keep going. I hate to say it, but look, even our own illustrious president ran how many times before he won? In early 2015, people thought his candidacy was a joke because he had already crashed and burned twice before. And then he did it, you never know, right? Bob Casey, who's the senator from Pennsylvania, ran 2 or 3 times before he finally won. And he comes from a political dynasty. His father was governor. So
no, you're totally right. So that's why
one loss means nothing. It is one loss.
That's also why I encourage everybody to be careful with when you run and you get domain names. Don't put years in them. Try to keep it with just like at the top, like for council or for Senate or stuff like that.
So even we can't now run you for Congress. We'd have to get you a different website. But
yeah, no, see, that's why I'm not running.
Council races in your future.
So even like that sign in the corner, that's my yard sign. And I put the Ward 3 so small that even if I go at large, I can buy green tape and cover it up and reuse the sign. So I'm going to be getting a lot of use out of the same material. So that was the reach. We reached
Which is also very green of you. So.
Do you attend city council meetings, City?
Good question. So I was the only candidate. Well, I was the only candidate that ran for the race. Now again, there was a ward race, so the council was there. But any of the other parties, nobody had a candidate show up. They never attended town council meetings. I wish I could show you my door hanger, but my door hanger says attends town council meetings.
Good.
That's great. Well, I also recommend, and Harry, this might be a point for you, but well, for Congress it's not realistic, but if you're going to run for city council or school board or anything like that, I recommend that people take time to actually just attend the meetings, go and watch and see what it's like, because you will invariably pick up on things like, oh, my opponent actually never shows their face. Or, oh, my opponent said X, Y, Z and voted against this bill. You'll also start meeting really, like the people in your community who just, live and breathe politics and show up to all those meetings. And those people are pretty influential and usually are representing other bases and other communities. So it can be really advantageous to just, get to know the body and to show up and watch, these public sessions in sort of a watchdog mode as part of your preparation for running for office. It looks like we had a couple more people join late. So Jennifer, we got to hear you introduce yourself. Who's the 860 number or the 415 number?
I'm in a 415, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you might be on the phone and the computer. Anyone from the 860?
I am.
Barbara's here from Connecticut. Yeah, Barbara's here from Connecticut.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost 10 o'clock, at least on the Eastern Seaboard here. Other comments, questions, thoughts?
Yes. Jenny Stack.
Yep, Jenny.
Yeah, listening to Craig, I think that, Craig, I've been wondering for several years, because I've been sort of back and forth between using a CMS, trying to offer a CMS instead of Nation Builder until candidates get, let's call them a couple of West Coast candidates, get familiar with Nation Builder. I'm all for Nation Builder, especially for the part where it has all sorts of voters in your district, your city, whatever it is. And I've done a lot of systems development work over many, many years, but so I like to think in larger pictures of what's possible. The short remark is I think it's wise, and I'd like feedback if anybody wants to say yay or nay, to keep everybody you ever contacted and keep them on Nation Builder and build up your Nation Builder profiles for everybody who's green or green-like, green interested, and so on, because somebody was mentioning there are people outside your area who you made friends with. Well, keep inside.
My audio just cut out.
So I'm just saying, don't lose anybody you ever talk to, and keep them as much information as you can on Nation Builder, because in effect that's what it's good for, very good for, and keep nurturing them as future green volunteers perhaps, and they can possibly help you canvass in your area in future elections, for one thing, if not also drive in, bus in, and help with in an office somewhere. With if you go for a bigger, if you have a bigger campaign, that's how I'm thinking about it. So, does that seem practical or like a good idea, or don't work?
Hi, this is Harry. Sorry, just what is Nation Builder?
Nation Builder was made in Georgia by a bunch of people who, here in California, we learned about around 2012, 2013, and our then party
Is it a
manager.
website? Is it a program? Is it a subscription? What is it?
It's a website.
It's well, for campaigns, it's more than just a website. It's a whole system, primarily to help people run campaigns. And it's one of the advantages.
How does it work?
Well, there's a little orientation, but it's fairly simple. You just it comes with donations. A way to do donations comes with a calendar, comes with really easy ways to make web pages. And if you like a web page you made somewhere else, you can basically take elements and put it into Nation Builder, and you've got it happening there. In fact, you don't even need to use the Nation Builder domain. You can use your own domain. That's part of the system. I dug into it a while back. But one big advantage is the Secretary of State will supply Nation Builder people with all the voters you want for your district, your city, town, your state. And then you have to clean up all that information yourself in your campaign, which is a major chore. Here in California, mostly some Southern California people did a lot of cleanup on our state database.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I'm having a lot of trouble understanding you.
Oh, okay. So if I talk more slowly, am I not breaking up so much?
That's better now.
Okay, slower is better. So people in Southern California cleaned up our California Nation Builder voter database a bit, but I have been trying to point out that this is almost a full-time job, especially on the state level. And here in California, here in San Francisco, we've got almost 1 million people, got 800,000 and counting. And so it would be not as green voters, but total voters. That's also a big job for our tiny San Francisco Green Party. But in the longer run, I think we who want to help campaigns work better need to talk about if and how we're going to do that as a group, because it needs to be done a lot. I think it needs to be done every year and during the off years, basically to keep your people interested and involved. I guess that's a short story. Can I have more specific questions, and I can try to answer them with shorter answers? Unless somebody has a better answer.
I was going to go on Stack if possible.
Take it.
So, Harry, so again, we're as Greens, we can't use like Act Blue because that's all the Democrat stuff. So,
yeah, all right.
I like Nation Builder because it's not just a website. It does host your aggregate of people that interact with your Twitter account, your Facebook. As soon as you link all that stuff, it starts to show you all the people that follow your posts and your campaign and everything. It also has a payment processor you set up through Stripe. And then obviously you make your website through it, and you can import your domain name real easily. I mean, it took me 2 weeks to get it down, and there's still things I don't know. I still got to learn a lot. But yes, if it's a bigger race, then you can download your instead of having the lists like your walking lists, they download it into the Nation Builder website, and then you can use the app. So when you're walking with your volunteers, you can use your phone, log in, and check off, who you've made contact, rank them, and do all that stuff, on your phone instead of having to carry walking sheets. My race, I wasn't
talking about walking door to door to people's houses.
Yeah, the old walking list, as we like to call them. So it was a ward race, so it was small. So I figured I'm going to just print my sheets and just go door to door, and I made my own spreadsheet adjustments as I went through. I didn't know how much I was going to fundraise, so I didn't know how much I could pay for to add other features to my Nation Builder account on that ward race. So I didn't want to waste money on that part, but for at large in 2 years, I would need to have it downloaded into the Nation, use the app, because obviously I don't want to carry all these sheets around, walk around the whole town. A ward is different. It isn't that big. It was only I broke it into 4 groups. It was really easy to do on a ward level, but on a town level or a larger race, you totally need to have enough money donated to pay and get access to using all the other features on it. But it's definitely the more professional look and the professional way to go, which is what we need. I mean, we need branding. We need to have better marketing.
Each segment costs separately, basically?
Yeah. As you unlock and you add people to your Nation, the price goes up. So the introductory amount is like $34 a month, and then if you commit to a year up front, it's like $29 and change. That's a very low amount of people you can have to reach out to. As you start to hit, I forget the next level up, if it's 10,000 or 20,000, as you import people in, the price of your subscription goes up, of course. So, and again, I'm here in California, has got 1 million people to manage. Jeez, I'd love to know what the bill is.
We had 200,000 one year. I don't know how that was pretty amazing. I didn't see the finances on it, so I can't tell you.
Wow.
Much more than that.
But yeah,
there were 200
people in your district, or is that for people that you have email addresses for that volunteer that are interested in the campaign?
These are all people who signed up on the California Greens .Nation Builder site. And at one point back in 2015, 2016 era.
So you had 200,000 people.
I believe we did, unless they were duplicates. People who signed up many times, or donors. But I really
filters that out.
Go ahead. Say again?
I thought Nation Builder doesn't let you put duplicates. That's why I also like it, because it looks like it catches that and doesn't let you really have duplicates.
Oh, okay, so I haven't caught up on anything between 2017 to now on what's new in Nation Builder. Maybe that's so, but they had a whole lot of trouble deduplicating all the voter information in 2015, 2016.
Now,
but
the Board of Elections provide you a list of registered voters.
Yeah, these are from a registered voter list, in our case, state of California. So the same would apply. I think Nation Builder would apply for all 50 states and all the territories. That's one of the things I think is so cool. Even though I dislike the sliding scale on the more people you got, the more money you got to pay. Just like for email blast, just to have it in the database, whatever. I have a solution to that, but I can't tell you more about it yet because I haven't.
Wait, is your solution a solution I proposed last year?
I don't know. I don't know.
Hillary knows my solution.
What?
I want
What?
I want GPUS to host the Nation Builder and then divvy it out to the states.
Would you repeat that name, please?
I want GPUS to host the Nation Builder, and then they pay for the big enchilada, and they divvy out to the state level, and the states then create their pages off the national one, and then the state parties can then kick back $500 or $1,000 a year back to national to offset the costs.
I totally agree with you.
Then you can track
agree.
everything under one umbrella.
And it's online, and you can get people in all the states that want to be helping the Green Party participate in keeping the voter database up to date and clean and no duplicates and so forth. I think it's the lowest cost way to use it.
Yeah, because that's where you're right. We're all mining the same information multiple times through all these different websites that we all use. This way you can keep it under the same umbrella, and you would probably save money somewhere, either on the state level. You'll save money.
State and Congress. Let's do it. Let's do it. And if it's just one database but you've got some people who are managing the thing a lot and making backups so you don't lose your information, your site, your master site does not go down. Everybody can use it. I think. Nation Builder is a big enough outfit. I think they can use what's called the cloud in case there are too many people trying to use the same site. I'll try to keep it simple. The cloud basically says you can multiply the number of computers that are creating your site and doing the work. And since y'all signed the contract, the prices should not increase. They should be whatever the agreement is you signed at the beginning. Anyway, the what's the right word for it? Quality of service. Quality of service of the site. How quickly things get done. How quickly an email blast gets sent out. How quickly walking lists are prepared. People who are looking, and updated, because one of the points about canvassing is you've got to have a way to update. Somebody said they had their own spreadsheet. I think they were updating as they walked. Update on their phone. But Nation Builder can do some of that, and I think they'll be adding more features if they find out more people there's money to be made. But if it's a master site, everybody in the country could conceivably be using the same site and the same database and updating it. And people from one state could be helping other states. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be quiet.
That was you were breaking up like crazy.
Yeah, I noticed that too. San Francisco, Jenny. I'm going to be quiet now.
I wanted to just mention about Nation Builder. First of all, my understanding is, at least for the national one, you have to log in.
Well, it's breaking up really bad. This is Logan. I'm going to have to sign off, but good luck, Craig, everybody else. Got a big year ahead of us. And
if you need any help, let me know. Just reach out to me.
I'm out away at it.
Who's signing off? I just want to say bye.
This is Logan at Dayton.
Logan at Dayton, Ohio. Wow. Okay, good luck.
All right.
Was
that Holly trying to speak about the national?
It was. Am I still breaking up? Things sound okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was Jenny in San Francisco speaking about using the national for everything.
Okay, yeah, the thing about that is that when you log in, Nation Builder grants access to, as far as I know, the way the GPUS is set up, it's everything. And there are very good reasons not to allow multiple logins to just anybody to sign up or sign in. There is, the candidate database ideally will eventually have a login for each state, and they can update their own information. But that's in terms of candidates, campaigns, and data in that regard. In terms of voter database, I know the National keeps some of that, and they can send it out to various states, but I'm not sure that everybody's going to be allowed in to update their own information, nor do they absolutely need to. In my state, we can pay $10 any time and get a complete list of our own database instead of paying money to the National or to Nation Builder, because we started with Nation Builder and it was just expensive for us. We didn't really need it. Other states might find it worth the deal to pay for the National, but I don't think it just about a gazillion people are going to be crowdsourcing this. Just FYI. But you can get your information from Nation Builder. The National will send that to you.
That's true. Okay. I think I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's a lack of limit, and so that's the problem. Is they explain to me they can't really just limit your access to just one part of it. You would legitimately, anybody could get on there and go in and decimate your state membership. So that's what I care.
Well, it's not a single user system. I mean, multiple. If that's something I correctly or incorrectly understood from what you just said.
But they're not just getting absolutely best in the world a login to go in there and enter things.
No, I get it. You would need to have a gatekeeper in each state that is voted in and that the National knows. And then do it that way. But again, in that, of course, you don't want to have everybody, 50 people in there, I guess. That would be the thing. So,
Stack, Denny, San Francisco. Am I on? Okay, I guess. When I was deeper into Nation Builder 2015-2016, there were people assigned to each new user. They were like chaperones or guardians, and I don't know if that's still part of the system. I was almost going to sign up for my own site to see what's in the last months, and I didn't do it to see what's new.
Yeah, I got a chaperone for 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, they stayed with me on the little, they always had the little chat thing, and they were always there answering questions that I had for about 6 months.
Oh, but that's like a Nation Builder person, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's like a tech support person. They hold your hand all the time. But there's also somebody in your party, usually, or your campaign, who I guess gets to herd whatever they agree, the party agrees or the campaign agrees with a suitable number of people, and I guess that's a way of, pardon the expression, maintaining discipline.
Well, if it's your own database, like Craig, I assume you have your own Nation Builder, then that's yours that you're using. So definitely.
Oh, you broke up so much. I didn't hear that.
It's your own Nation Builder account. I think you have yours for your own. And then you had someone search information. What?
Audio.
Yeah, it's still pixelated, but I get that. Yeah, my Nation Builder was mine for the campaign, but maybe this is the thing. My state uses Action Network, which I don't really like Action Network. I don't know why some people like Action Network, but we use that on a state level. But if the state party had Nation Builder, then they could set up subpages to campaigns that your campaign then can have access to during the campaign, and that data can then share back to the state party. So maybe that's something that each of us would have to have conversations with our state party to see about doing, because that would help with a little bit with keeping some sort of a uniform look, or at least defray some expense somewhere. But I mean, it's good. I just now need to fundraise to keep it up for another year. So.
Well, I don't know if this is Holly again. Hopefully I'm being heard, but I'm just going to say goodbye, too. I think it's been a really interesting conversation for me. But thank you guys for calling in and sharing. It's always helpful to learn, and I'm glad this has been recorded.
Great. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.
And
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
And I'm really glad it was recorded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we done?
I think we're good. Any other questions?
I got follow-up.
I don't think we're going to answer them tonight.
Say again, please.
This is Harry. I'm saying I've got a million questions, but I don't think we're going to get to answering them all tonight. Can't even necessarily formulate what they all are yet. But
no problem, Harry. You follow me on social media yet? You can find me. It's real easy. I'll be more than happy to help you.
I don't know who or what, or I'm not. I don't even know who I'm talking to really, or what.
Oh, I'm Craig Cayetano. You can find me
okay.
on Facebook. Yeah, I'm a co-chair of Green Party in New Jersey also.
Oh, okay.
I'll be more than happy to help with any questions you have.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jenny Stack's suggestion, somebody create a Facebook group, ASAP, and everybody who's in the webinar can be on it. And we can follow up there.
Yeah, we should definitely do more of the CCC page. We should share that more for sure. I know they have a page. And
sorry, what's the CCC?
The Coordinated Campaign Committee. And they do a lot of stuff. So I'm
the
hoping.
Green Party U.S.
Yeah, and again, any questions that you jot down or have, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help any way I can.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all very much. There's answers to questions that I didn't even know to ask. So thank you very much.
No problem. Good talk.
I enjoyed this a lot. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Blessed be.
All right. Good night. Take care.
Happy solstice. Adios.
Happy holidays.
Same to everyone.
And that too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.